His comment, he says, Hines, government had no role in Lee's charges. So what he says in a nutshell is, Minister of National Security, whatever he is, government is in no way involved in the DPP instructions to the police to charge opposition MP, Pointe-a-Pierre, and so on. That's what he said. I want to remind, well, forget Hines, I want to remind the country that something happened in this country. It was the 14th of October, 2020. 2020, 14 October, that's how much? Almost 2 years now, is it? Yeah. 2 years ago, in the parliament, Imbert was winding up the debate on the budget. 2 years ago. Hear what Imbert say. Quote, Hansard. He says, perhaps the leader of the opposition can inquire of the member of Pointe-a-Pierre as to why he used exemptions and privilege to purchase a motor car. Probably in the history of this parliament, this is the first time a man purchased a motor car like that. And he accessed the benefits in tax concessions and so on. He accessed this, and he have a motor car that he hardly drive or whatever. And he went on to say that this need investigation, in Imbert words, as to how this was done. And he gives some other details and so on that I don't want to waste time reading. Imbert in 2020 raised that matter. He raised the matter. Tonight I tax Imbert. Call Imbert, tell this country. And we have a recording that we can find. So be careful. Be careful of your reply. Did you collect a file on this matter pursuant to your announcement in Parliament? Did you collect a file? Did you call the Commissioner of Police? I ask you, Mr. Imbert. Did you call the Commissioner of Police and say, Mr. Commissioner, with your normal Cheshire cat grin? Did you call and tell Griffith, I have a file, I want you to lock up David Lee? Did you do that? Did you do that? And tonight I call on Gary Griffith. Gary Griffith, please identify the cabinet minister that called you when you were commissioner. Identify the cabinet minister that called you, that sent a file to you with information, secret, confidential, private information on this said matter involving MP David Lee. Mr. Griffith, please help us out. We need to know the identity of the cabinet minister that did this. Because Mr. Griffith has said on record that Rowley has been using him, was seeking to use him, trying to use him to lock up UNC people. Look at this. Griffith writes, Police Service Commission on claims of plot. Recent newspaper. This was just a couple days ago, I think. Trinidad Guardian. And he says that when he was Commissioner of Police, he claimed he was given $45 million. $45 million to hire certain private attorneys without tender to target cases involving government political opponents. He said, he claimed he was directed to personally investigate and target the opposition leader. This is a former commissioner of police. This thing is breathtaking, mind-boggling. In a democracy, in the Commonwealth, he was tied to target the opposition leader and 3 other political opponents of the government. I'm almost certain Anil Roberts is one. With the hope to have them arrested. This is a former commissioner. This is not a former comedy master. This is a commissioner of police making a statement in a newspaper to say the prime minister and the government give him $45 million to target opposition figures. And today, brothers and sisters, we have seen what they were doing. So they had to get rid of Gary Griffith, who said, I will have none of that. He said, I will have none of that. I will have none of that. And they come with some cock and bull story about who owned the car and where the car does be and who does drive the car. It matters not who driving and where the car park up. The owner of the vehicle is David Lee. He's the owner. The law only recognizes what is on a certified copy. So suppose a man buy a car and the car park up every night by Double Palm. Who own the car? Who you got charge, Army? You got charge, Army? He own the car? So if you can't pack up and sleep in by double palm every day, we got charge double palm. That is the foolishness they are coming with. Yeah, if I can't pack up by one wood brook, we got charge, huh? We're charging. So them go on special. So what they do over the last year, they send police with binoculars in the night to look where this car going, where it parking up, what time it leaving, who it coming with, and so on. What them is Mako? Just so. But when they were doing that, they didn't know who murder A, who murder B, how the murder rate reached 422 for the year. They don't know that. Don't care about that. Their resources are not for that. Their resources is to spend money, millions of dollars, to Mako members of the opposition. And I warned you a few weeks ago. I will tie this up with another important point. A few weeks ago, we showed you something else. This remarkable piece of thing here. And I just want to remind Imbert, when you get a private file with information on members of the public, you know when you are buying a car, I buy plenty using that same exemption, by the way. Over the years, I buy plenty. And I'm happy that over the years, I took advantage of that facility. Imbert we didn't talk about him, but yeah, boat, forget car. And he entitled to a boat, he entitled to a ship. In fact, Imbert entitled to a rocket to leave planet Earth and go out in space. He's entitled to that. He should buy a rocket. Brothers and sisters, when you buy a car using your exemption, you go through 3 offices. You go through the Controller of Customs. You go through the Board of Inland Revenue, tax. And if you take a loan, as some of us do, we go through what is called the Controller of Accounts. Now, the 3 branches would have our private data because they will ask for private information. So, in this case, I want to ask Imbert, if a minister has a file to send to police, where he get the information from? Because you see, brothers and sisters, under the Income Tax Act, at Section 4, it says every person having any official duty or being employed in the administration of this act, the Income Tax Act and so on, shall regard and deal with all documents, information, returns, assessment, copies and so on as secret and confidential, and shall make and subscribe a declaration in the form prescribed to the effect before a magistrate. So do you know when you are in the Board of Inland Revenue, you take an oath that carries penalties in law, jail, fine, that you cannot give information? Mr. Imbert, the cabinet minister with this file, where he got the information from Board of Inland Revenue? In breach of the Income Tax Act. I want to find out that. There's also something called the Customs Act, brothers and sisters, I have it here. Customs Act. And in the amended Act number 6 of 2013, passed by our government, I must read for you again in the Customs Act. Section 280, as amended. A person having an official duty or being employed in the administration of this act shall regard and deal with all documents, entries, declarations, data, messages, and so on as secret and confidential, and shall make and subscribe a declaration in a prescribed form before a justice of the peace. Anyone who violates this commit an offense with a penalty of $100,000 and imprisonment for 8 years. 8 years. So the Income Tax Act, the Customs Act speaks to the fact that you cannot divulge information. So long before the police was investigating that, how come a minister holding up a package and say, I have information, Mr. Griffith, lock up this one, charge that one? Where did you get the information from? That's certainly in breach of the law because police wasn't investigating that 2020 in October. Wasn't. So brothers and sisters, they are breaking the law. They are breaking